Hi everybody, so this is a quick tutorial for how to create a split within your survey to allow for some of the consumers, some of the respondents to be served only one of the competitive brands rather than all three or four. So I presume that you already had some experience in creating Qualtrics surveys, so you understand what this part is. We will be focusing on only these areas below. Okay, so I've already created a tiny little survey, small survey with a few questions. And as you would know in Qualtrics, the default location of all of the questions is one block. We will be using block options for randomization to create that split. That is why the question that will be first randomized, where the split actually occurs, it will need to be separated from the remainder of the questions into a separate block. So let me first go through what we have so far here. So I have unaided awareness, which top 3 brands come to mind when you think of category XYZ. Then you have 4 brands that you predetermined that you're going to be studying. So let's say brand A is our focal brand. That's the one that's part of your exploratory. And B, C, and D are the 3 competitors that you would like to benchmark against. So this question, think of everything you've seen, heard, or experienced about the brands below. How well would you say you know the following brands? That would measure, on a scale from 0 to 100, the knowledge of the consumers, the awareness, if you will. It's the proxy that the consumers might give us to kind of in percentage terms, if you will, to indicate how well they know the brand. Okay, so it's a measure of awareness. And based on this information, we will want to make sure that some of the brands they don't know, they are not part of the survey for this consumer. Okay, so first I'm going to create a new block, and I'm going to pool all of the questions but these 2 in that separate block. So I'm creating the block, and I am pulling this one down into that other block. Let me create another block where I will concentrate all of the remainder of the questions that will come after the randomization. So in this case, I only have one question, which is these personality questions, personality traits. So here we have the beginning of the questionnaire. You can put as many questions as you need here, demographics, whatever you want. What's important is this question that will be at which point the split is being forced on the consumers. It needs to have only one question, only one block, and it will become clear why in just a few moments. So again, focal brand A, B, C, and D. Now make sure that this question, or whatever the block of statements you have here, is perfect, exactly how you want it. Then you rename this to your brand A, and you copy this for all the other competitive brands you're planning to evaluate, okay, or benchmark. So copy question once, copy question twice, copy questions 3 times, okay. So we're going to rename it into brand B, brand C, and brand B, C, and D. Okay. Now, as soon as I said that it's perfect, I forgot to validate, forgot to create randomization. So you want to make sure that all of these are served to consumers in random order. So there is no specific, effect of being shown first. So all of the qualities, all of the characteristics, all of the settings for a questions are always on the right side in Qualtrics. So here I'm going to say randomization and just randomize the order of all choices. Save. I should have done it before, but now I'm going to repeat the same step for all of the things that I've copied, all of this question that I've copied several times. So, we don't need that yet. Randomize order of all choices. And once again, randomization. Yeah. Okay, so we have randomized, randomized, one more missing, randomized, yeah, it's not showing, yes, randomized, everything perfect. So there is also in block options randomization of questions, okay, and this time we're going to go into very specific question randomization here, and it's not going to be regular randomization, it's going to be advanced randomization, okay. So here's what it is. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to always have your focal brand, right? And these three brands you will want to show only once, one brand to one respondent. So you need to carry them into random subset. So the question now is, how many brands from this subset are going to be inserted into this display order? And we're going to select one. So one of these three will appear here. Now it's important to keep track that the number of times that each brand appears is kept at equal amounts, right? 33%, 33%, 33%. So we're going to select here evenly present elements. We're going to take a look at the count. So right now there are zeros. But if you already had collected some surveys, some responses, especially if you're training, by the way, it also changes the count here. You want to make sure that these counts are reset before you go live. Okay? So far so good. What will happen is that the consumers who are answering the survey, when they get to this part, they will see a block about brand A, and they will see a block, one of the blocks for the competitor. Now, it's important to note that page breaks do not work in randomization. So you want to say, for example, show one questions on each page, okay? Such that you don't see these two blocks on the same page. However, if it's not important to you and your questions are small, you don't need to set that. But ultimately, if you have 20 statements, you don't want to have a long page, scrolling down. So here we have it. Save. All right, and save here. Now, how do we make sure that consumers are not being asked about a brand they do not know? Well, in principle, starting with brand A itself, we want to make sure that if the consumers are not very well aware about this brand, we don't force them to answer all of this information about them, because the statements that they're going to provide are not going to be based on consumer brand knowledge after all. So what we will do is we will add display logic, okay? And in the display logic, we will say, based on a question, which was brand awareness, please show this if brand A, and here you can select a cutoff. For example, is greater than 20. All right. So as long as the consumers drag this bar and indicated at least 20%, metaphorically speaking, of knowing the brand, it will be shown to the consumers. Okay. We repeat the same thing for brand awareness about brand B above 20. Again, this is a decision that the cutoff you need to decide with your team what is a comfortable cutoff you have here. And so we have 20 here again, and same thing. Think about brand D. How well do you know it? Above 20, it will show. Okay. Now what will happen is, if say somebody doesn't know, first three respondents know brand A and didn't know brand B and brand C, but they've known brand D, and all four respondents followed the same suit. What will happen is, the first time anybody who knows brand B or C they will be presented these choices, B or C, to equalize the number of times that these three brands are being presented to the consumers. Okay, so trust me, it works, and we're going to test it in just a few moments. But now let's go back down to block 2. Remember these? Okay, so let me randomize the order first off. Randomization of all choices, so we don't have to worry about it afterwards. I'm going to make it brand A, and I'm going to copy it once, twice, and 3 times. This is going to be changed to brand B, brand C, and brand D. Okay, and now in fact this is going to be the logic for the remainder of the survey. You are not going to send consumers skipping somewhere to a part of the survey depending on what they've answered here. In fact, you will be presenting block by block, but you're only going to show the questions corresponding to the brand that was exposed, was shown to them earlier. So for example, if to make sure that it's not shown to someone who doesn't know brand A, all you need to say is display logic. If statements about this brand in any of these questions, any statement is trustworthy, was displayed. So what will happen if the consumer was shown this question? They will also, and specifically in this case it was trustworthy. If trustworthy was shown to the consumers, to the respondents, then this question will be inserted in this block. Logically, the display logic for this question will be statements about, thinking about this brand, let's see, is trustworthy, has been shown, is displayed. Only so, if thinking about brand B, if that trustworthy was shown, it will be shown as well. Now you will notice that it's important to name your questions properly. So because in that display logic, it reads these question names. So you might want to rename them properly so that when you play with the display logic, it is easier to follow exactly what it is, but ultimately it goes in the same order. So we've done brand A, brand B, now brand C. If trustworthy was displayed, save, and finally display logic if thinking about the brand, trustworthy was displayed, save. So what will happen now is it will only insert the questions relative to the brand that was previously exposed, and that exposition was determined by the randomization that was set up here, remember, in the question randomization. And that in fact was also working in tandem with how well consumers know these brands. So let's preview this really quickly. We're going to mention something like, I don't know, Nike, Adidas, and Puma. And let's say you had, you know, Nike, Adidas, and Puma here. By the way, oops, definitely make sure that it's on a different page. So we'll come back to it. So I know brand A, I don't know brand B, I don't know brand C, and I know brand D. Okay, next we see brand A. We answered some of the things. You see these are randomized. Yes. Next we respond about brand A, exciting, etc., etc., etc. And what? So clearly I made a mistake earlier. I'm sure you already probably know where it is. We did not see brand B right after the first, brand D right after you've seen brand A first question, first menu block. So we're going to correct this. Let's go take a look what we've done here. So first of all, let's insert a page break here. We want to make sure that every question appears once on the page, or organized the way you want it. And here, think of everything you've seen, blah blah blah, greater than 20, and here we go. It's equal to 20. That needs to be changed. We need to edit it to be greater than 20. And the same thing has to be for every condition here. Same condition, greater than, let's say 20. Save. And this one, edit, greater than 20. Save. Okay, and now it should work. Let's do it again. Preview. Brand Nike, Adidas, and something else. Next, we're going to do this at 40, 10, less than 10, and 40. Next. We have brand A, value for money, da 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 da. Next, brand D, value for money, da da da. Let's see here. And now we need to see it, or we need to be able to see again in the same order A and D, right? So we have A and D, all right, and I need to make sure that I insert page breaks here so they don't appear on the same page. And we're going to answer it about those and submit. Okay, so we've done it a couple of times already, and let me insert page breaks here in block that follows this. Page break after each question. You can do it at the block level where it show only one question per page. Of course you can do that, but that really gives you less flexibility. That is only one requirement here when we have no control over how the questions will be shown, other than this randomization. Okay, so now since we've done it a couple of times, we want to make sure that we erase before we launch live those previous counts. So you see that brand D had been used up once, so we can reset all counts right before launching the survey live. Okay, and a couple of suggestions while we're at it. Let's change the way that the survey flows a little bit, some of the options. Make sure that you prevent ballot box stuffing, so that the same consumers don't respond more than once, and give a little bit more generous 1 month recording time. Okay, you don't want to be a victim of unfinished responses because somebody did not finish it within 1 week. Okay, save. And while we're at it, look and feel. This is old branding colors, and we need to update it to, let's see, change theme. Maybe you don't have it in this option. We can change it to, actually I think it's not part of my profile, but you guys have it as a student. You should be able to have the new color scheme. Oh, there you go, there it is, sorry, it's right there. Just update the color scheme, there we go. So this now should look pretty good. There you have it. And I believe you can actually edit a little bit more. I'm a stiffler for these colors, question separator if needed. And yeah, I'm not sure I can change that, but you can do it through custom CSS. We're not going to mess with this. Okay, so let's keep it as is. Save for that part. Okay, so here you have it. as you collect the data, and so the idea is to, as you collect the data, you can build more here in the front part, more conditions, more other things. You can have more complex combinations. Then you will have the rest of the survey. So the logic is that once you've randomized it once, it will always go between two brands: brand A, brand B, brand A, brand B, or brand A and C, A and C. And so the idea is to keep that in mind, so that will always be like this dance between the two brands, because essentially this is what you established with this randomization of the based on this question. There are other ways of tracking how you present and what you present to the consumers through survey flow, but this is by far the easiest way of doing so, and you don't need to get bogged down with the alternative paths, alternative flow, branches, and so on. This is the easiest way. Just create the fullest version of the survey, and then based on some previous conditions, including that randomization in the second block, to display the remaining parts of the survey, judiciously based on what consumers have answered before or had been shown before. I hope this helps. I'll see you in class.